Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my July 2019 horoscope report for you. It is my intention for this video to give you the information that I believe that you need to make this the best month possible and learn a little astrology while you're at it. Definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, where I have a very extensive astrology blog, including blogs on the new and full moons and how best to use those power periods. If you are interested in learning astrology and you resonate with how I teach, check out my astrology apprenticeship program, also at anniehelpsyou.com. Definitely check out my new book, that has become a beautiful bedside companion and purse-toting companion for my fellow spiritual seekers, an Amazon bestseller, Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days. And you can see that at radicalprayerbook.com. So what do we have in store for you this month? I'm going to go into lots of details. Let's check them out now. Hello, Gemini friends. Welcome to my July 2019 horoscope report for you. We have a wild month of eclipse changes, jolting drama, magnificent endings and culminations. We have new magical beginnings opening up. Plus, we have Mercury retrograde. We have 2 new moons. So lots of chances for new beginnings underneath the cloak of this Mercury retrograde, bringing in this tilt from the past. We have a massive focus on money and finances continuing for Geminis at this time. And lots of Mercury retrograde energy bringing in possibilities from the past that can help to accentuate your present and future. For some of you, we've got a big focus on technology and transportation and mobility. We've got, for all Gemini placements, continued karma in the relationship space, including getting funding and collaborating with people with resources or institutions with resources. There's a continuous expansion of clients and partnerships and collaborations and working together. And we've got the chance for strange ideas about things that could work out in a huge way. We've got some instability coming in certain areas of the chart for some of you, which I'll go into more details. So a very action-packed month as usual. I'm going to show you the charts that I'm using for the reading, and I'll show you the early, middle, and late degree Gemini charts and go into details about the things that I think will be affecting you this month and how you can best use the energy. Then I'm going to drop in a Mercury retrograde tutorial because we spend half of our lives with Mercury in retrograde. So mastering this transit will help you to roll with the rhythms for half your life more than you usually would have if you didn't understand this as well. Then you'll see me back on the screen and I will go into the general transits, the dates to note for the month, as well as other tones and things that I think that you need to know to make this the best month possible. So let's look at the Gemini charts now. Okay, so we are going to talk about many things that are true for all early, middle, and late degree Gemini placements, but there will be things that are sectioned out that could be different depending on your placement. So let's figure out where you are. Early degree placements are basically our May born or 0 to 9 degrees. Middle degree Gemini around June 1st through 10th or 10 to 19 degrees. And late degree Gemini, June 11th through the rest of the sign or 20 to 29 degrees. If you have Gemini rising or your moon is in Gemini, this report is for you. I always recommend that you watch at least horoscope reports for your sun and rising if you know it. If you don't know your rising, you can get a free birth chart done online to see what your ascendant or rising is, and then watch for that sign as well. And many people will gather extra pieces by additionally watching for their moon. Okay, so definitely watch my June horoscopes as a sister readings to this one, because in the June horoscopes, I go into much detail about the eclipses. The eclipses are wild. They're actually happening in July. I recorded them for June, though, because we often see manifestations of a big, in a big way, come up 4 to 6, even more before. So that puts us into like the second part of May for possible eclipse manifestations. So that's why I put those out earlier. But you definitely want to watch that because in July is when the eclipses actually are. And if you haven't gotten your news already or you're trying to understand your news, the June horoscope that I made will help you with the eclipse part of the reading for this month. The next thing I want to talk about is clusters of energy, where they're showing up, and Mercury retrograde. Okay, so One of the houses that is being accentuated for all early, middle, and late degree placements is the second house. So we're going to put some attention towards that. Okay, some of you early degree placements might have some Mercury retrograde there, but at minimum, the Sun is moving through there, the North Node continues to be there, Venus is going to be there. The middle degree placements, you're going to have a good bit, if not all, of Mercury retrograde through your second house. Mars is about to go out, but the North Node and Sun are there. Venus will get there. Late degree placements, you're going to have Mercury retrograde focusing on this area. Mars is going to be there for part of the time. You've got some part of fortune, and then the Sun's going to move in there. So there's a lot of busyness in the second house, regardless of your placements. So what does that mean? The second house is a money house. And so last month we had a focus on money for you because of this focus on the second house, and this continues. So money opportunities, money issues that turn into opportunities, money being brought into the forefront, sustainability projects, trying to live more simply or trying to live more extravagantly. Second house rules both of those ends of the polarity, but a focus on money and material things and how you make that money and the self-esteem that's required for you to command what you are worth. The added element of the Mercury retrograde energy is bringing this energy from the past to the second house. So in these cases, things from the past are more likely to come up. Money you've made in the past, ideas you had in the past, money owed to you from the past can come in. I'm using the middle degree chart, but I'm talking about all of you here. Ideas that you had, work you did in the past, making money from that. There's a strong tilt towards the past. So this whole month, any ideas that you go back to as far as making money or going back to the basics with healing issues around money are going to be really helpful. The eclipses could bring in some new opportunities out of the blue or something that you've been working on for a while. But in general, if you have to do something, like you are focusing your attention or energy, then it's a good idea to think about this idea of things from the past. This is an amazing time to revamp your money view. We create from what we believe, but it's not always what we believe consciously. It's more what we believe unconsciously sometimes. So you might consciously say, I am worth making a bunch of money. My service is valuable. I am okay with making money. And you can say that consciously. But your unconscious programs are running the show. So if you're finding that your money circumstances don't match what you believe could be, then you have to do some work on your inner template. I love books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I love Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I absolutely love Margaret Lynch's, I talk about this all the time, Margaret Lynch, her book called Tapping into Wealth. It's an EFT tapping program that helps you to redo your money scene. So if you have anything weird about your money that you want help with, debts, being the only money maker and needing more support, making more money, anything, not making enough money, needing to work less but still make more. Margaret Lynch's Tapping into Wealth is amazing for that. So I love this time for you proactively trying to do things that improve your wealth consciousness. Wealth is a consciousness. And the more you can do to make yours sparkly and expanded is going to improve every aspect of that field of experience for you. Okay, so you early degree placements may have some of, well, you will actually. Early degree placements, you're going to have strong Mercury retrograde energy in your third house. And that has to do with, additionally, the second house will be represented, but the third house here has to do with your cars, your driving, your mobility, so questions to that or revisiting that or even travel. Travel could be a huge topic that comes up. Anything having to do with your devices, things like that. Now, if you have to upgrade your communication and you have a say in when you do this, I like the time towards mid-August better for getting new cars or getting new devices because Mercury is retrograde the whole month. So even through July 31st, you have Mercury retrograde. Then it will take a couple of weeks to kind of get straight. Then more towards the middle of August, it will be easier to do what you need to do there. Now, if you have an emergency, you have to replace something, just know that you might have some problems with what you get. You might not be seeing paperwork clearly. You might be agreeing to something that is going to change quickly. It's not the end of the world. If it's an emergency and you got to do it, don't worry about it. But if you have say in it, I would gear it towards mid-August for those issues that come up with your mobility, things like that. Also, the early people, you might find yourself returning to a place that you haven't been in a while. So traveling back somewhere that you haven't been in a while. And really, anybody of any sign can have that experience in Mercury retrograde, but there's some extra energy around it for you early degree placements. Something else that I would like to mention is for all early, middle, and late degree placements, you have strong representation of karmic energy and opportunities in your 8th house. Your 8th house, so understanding the 8th house is really important because these are long-term transits. These things are here for a long time. And what the 8th house has to do with and what this can give you is things involving like, what's the word? Inheritances or like estate things for family, getting money from anywhere, funding from anywhere, borrowing money, loaning money, credit, debt, taxes. All of those topics are huge for Geminis in a long-term way. Anything having to do with intimacy, emotional, deep sexual relationships, karmic relationships, marriage, business partnerships, spiritual breakthroughs, metaphysical expansion, and even the study of astrology or numerology or palmistry or tarot or things that are in that 8th house. These are all long-standing topics that are coming up as potentials. The fact that these 3 planets are here often show that there's a karmic element to it, like you did it before and now you're doing it again, or it's come back around to do in a different way, or something is supposed to be healed or something from it. This energy of expansion in partnerships is a big theme. You can see even Jupiter in the early degree, Jupiter in the middle degree, and whispers of Jupiter for the late degree, this is going to get stronger as the year goes on, have the energy of expansion for your relationship space. So this is a long-term theme. So not doing things on your own, finding perfect collaborators and partners are major themes for you. And especially for July, if there's somebody from the past or an institution from the past, it could come back in. If you tried to work with someone before and it didn't work out, this could be a time where you go back to them and it does work out, or you may be contacted, for that, from somebody that you've connected with from the past. There's a long-term theme for early, middle, and late degree placements of Neptune in the 10th house. And this has to do with, here we see it there, see it there, see it drop back. You have a much longer transit still for late. There. When Neptune is in the 10th house, it's spiritualizing your approach to work. Some people experience this as their work dissolving away. People could have been out of work, their work, is changing, they can't get a job, or they're not in resonance with their work, things like that. But what Neptune is seeking to do is to dissolve away everything that doesn't have a spiritual foundation. So basically, if you hate your work or you're not resonating with it anymore, Neptune is part of what's happening here, asking you to go to higher spiritual horizons, to feel like you're making a difference, to feel like if you're putting in 40 or more hours a week, or however many hours you're putting in a week, that it's going to something, that it's helping people, or it's catering to an ideal or something that feels like a purpose. So if you're not aligned with that, Neptune is going to keep nagging at you. And some really wonderful possibilities can come in at this time for Geminis, because Neptune and the North Node, and then all, in a longer term way, but then now this month, all of these planets that move through Cancer are crossing over and kind of bumping up against this sweet aspect. The North Node is your area of highest expression in this lifetime. Okay, so when you have a positive aspect with that in the house of money or anywhere else, but it is in the house of money for you all, then this could boost your opportunity to make money doing spiritual things. So be gutsy, you know, and really just follow the signs to try to do the work you want to do. For those of you who have set work and you can make these pursuits on the side, that will be fine. You know, just on the side, be building to your dream. But this month, you may have some amazing opportunities that come to help monetize your spiritual work. This can also boost anything that has to do with Neptune. So work with meditation. Of course, this winds up being spiritual as well in many ways, but artistic work, writing romance novels, that would be a Neptunian pursuit that could have assistance in being monetized from this configuration. Anything that has to do with Pisces, basically. So any work with psychology, healing arts, mysticism, anything like that. I also want to give a brief touch here on the movement of the planet Uranus. The planet Uranus is a jostler. It brings in sometimes welcome, but sometimes unwelcome changes. And it's a time when a lot of fear can come up because even though we crave change in a lot of ways, it's scary as well. So since Uranus has been moving into Taurus, for the early degree placements, it's really starting to accentuate the 12th house. Some of you middle degree placements, especially the earlier middle, you're feeling this as well. But the late degree placements, it's not quite there yet, but it is coming. Okay, it may take a little while, but it is coming. So when Uranus is in the 12th house, this can, the positive end of this, well, actually, let's do the challenging end first, and then we'll do the positive end. The challenging end is it can make people feel unstable mentally sometimes because it's an unstable force going through your deep unconscious mind. So you may need some support and resources to help stabilize your mind. One of the things I really like for this is the book Marriage of Spirits by Leslie Temple Thurston with Brad Laughlin. You can get this on Amazon. If you just put in Marriage of Spirit, it will come up. In this book, in section 2, there are exercises that can actually help strengthen your mind. And of course, I'm not a psychologist. If you have anything serious going on, you need help with that. And, you know, your doctors and you can figure out the extent of what has to happen. But regardless of how instability in your mind is manifesting, these exercises can really be a support to whatever else you're doing and can prevent problems. So anything that you can do to ground out and really use your mental space is going to be awesome. So the positive end of this is that it can give you genius ideas, make you a writing or creating machine, a creation machine. One thing to know about this is that it's very fleeting sometimes. So when you have this amazing idea, maybe you'll wake in the night with it, dream time can be really relevant. You have this amazing idea. You think, well, gosh, this is so good, I won't forget this, and you don't write it down. Big mistake, because Uranus is fleeting. So you want to have your notebook ready, and these Uranus-related ideas, you want to write them down and make space for the channeling, or make space for the writing, or make space for the creation, because this is really, really an amazing potential, but you have to capture it when it's flowing. For the rest of the middle degree placements, you are experiencing Uranus in the 12th a little bit, and then also still in the 11th, and the late degree placements, you still have Uranus in the 11th. So this is bringing that instability to your sector of friendships and acquaintances and groups and your tribe, and it can, you know, pull in unstable friends or pull in unstable acquaintances or add some, you know, uncertainty to your friendships and relationships. Now, on the plus side, Uranus does rule the 11th house, and so it likes to be there. So this can bring amazing new or unconventional groups or tribe members or ideas. This is amazing for internet-related work. This is amazing for ideas and technology like patenting things. So your ideas, you know, coming in those sections. So like community-based projects, humanitarian efforts, things like that. So it can completely rework your tribe, who you're a group of, you know, your social media experience and things like that. So any strange ideas that you have and this is true for all of y'all, okay? Any strange ideas that you have where people would say, oh, that's weird, I don't know what you're doing. Those are very much favored with Uranus transits because Uranus rules weird things. So there may be something to what you're saying. If it feels like it has some value, don't let go of the idea and definitely pursue it. Okay, so these are the things most on my mind for Gemini this month. Now I want to talk about Mercury retrograde. I'm going to drop in a tutorial. Mercury is retrograde for half our lives. The more you can know about it, the more you can roll with the rhythms. If you're tempted to not watch it because you're not interested in learning more about that, you have my blessing if you want to skip it, but I think you're missing important pieces. But if you want to fast forward till you see me back on the screen, then I will talk more about the general transits and the tone of the month and other things that I think that you need to know to make this the best month possible. Hi, this is going to be a quick tutorial of the energy of Mercury as it relates to the retrograde cycle and the things to keep in mind that are most important to hold in your consciousness as we go through this phase. So the first thing to know is that Mercury is retrograde or in its shadow, pre or post shadow period for about half of the year. So half of our lives we are in this. That's why it's really important to understand it. The second thing to know is that Mercury is retrograde for 3-ish weeks at a time, and there's about a 2-ish week before and after shadow transit. So the pre-transit shadow period and the post-shadow transit period. So all in all, it's about a 7-ish week process. So it is kind of long at a time. And the implications of Mercury retrograde are very strongly seen in this pre-shadow period and especially in the first part of this post-shadow period. And then they tend to like linger and just sort of wear off towards the end of that post-shadow period. Mercury rules communication and mobility. So anything involving speaking, writing, communicating, publishing, your devices that you use for communicating, your phones, you know, computers, things like that, your cars, vehicles, walking, your mobility, your capacity to be mobile, you know, your legs, the things that make you able to be mobile. If someone's in a wheelchair, their wheelchair would be there, or whatever it is that is related to your personal mobility. One thing to note as I describe the rest of this is that for people who are born with Mercury retrograde at birth, sometimes they feel the opposite effects of what everybody else feels during a Mercury retrograde period, and that things can flow even better for them during a Mercury retrograde period than when Mercury is direct. So if you have come to notice that, it may be because you have Mercury retrograde at birth. And it also may mean that you have, even if you don't officially have Mercury retrograde, and this is definitely a way more technical thing for you to have to try to figure out, but if Mercury was in a pre or post shadow period close to the retrograde, you could experience having Mercury retrograde from the birth perspective, even though it wouldn't as readily show up on your chart. So that's an important thing to note as well. Okay, so what tends to happen when Mercury is in retrograde is that there are changes to plans. There is uncertainty or confusion about what direction to take. There are plans that were made that are called into question. They may turn out to work out, but they get called into question. Things get called into question. Relationships get called into question. The use of devices and transportation gets called into question. Plans get called into question. And then sometimes they'll work out and sometimes they won't. But this calling into question is a typical Mercury retrograde thing. The topics of travel will often come up, and this can be a fine time for travel. There is a misconception that you shouldn't travel during Mercury retrograde. That's not true. You just have to be more aware because plans tend to change. Gates tend to change at the last minute. Issues with a car tend to come up if you're on a road trip, if you haven't, gotten everything checked out first or whatever, or even sometimes if you did, impediments to travel changes. When you're making agreements, Mercury also rules agreements. So if you're agreeing to something, the odds are that you're going to change what you're agreeing to. So it doesn't lend itself as well for long-term or rigid agreements. There are exceptions. If you're in there, don't worry. There are exceptions. But if you are negotiating during Mercury retrograde, you're either not seeing the whole picture, someone is purposely or inadvertently hiding something from you, or there are things that are coming that you're not aware of that are going to change how you can interact in the agreement that you've made. So in general, it is a good idea to be flexible. Flexible, temporary bridge agreements are like the theme that I like to put out there to best use this energy. Let's say you have to negotiate something or you're agreeing to something, and if it's minor or low stakes, you don't have to worry as much. It's the big things, that are more important. But there could be some minor things where it would be helpful to know this. Okay, so keep your flexibility. Try to make a interim or bridge agreement. So like, for instance, let's say you're trying to get a tenant in a house or in a professional space, and Mercury's in retrograde. Something like a month to month, totally awesome to embark on in a Mercury retrograde because you can get out of it. Something like a 3-month lease or even 3 to 6 months, something short term. You can make something for a month and then renegotiate when the planets are more clear, the energy is more clear. So those are ways that I like to deal with the Mercury retrograde. And it's definitely a good time to be aware that you might have things happen to your cars and phones and stuff. In general, I don't love this time as the best time to get a new device or car unless you can help it or unless it's a short-term or interim device. Like let's say you get a temporary phone to bridge you over something, that's more appropriate. Or you get a car that you plan to have for 3 to 6 months. Or, something like that. But for things that you're hoping to keep long-term, the retrogrades tend to make it shorter term. And that's typical. Another place to be careful is launches. Big, awesome, life-changing, once-in-a-lifetime launches are not the ones you want to have when Mercury is in retro. However, let's say you're a teacher and you teach classes twice a year and Mercury retrograde, is the time for your re-enrollment. Re-enrollment is much better supported. But do also expect that when you have launches in a Mercury retrograde cycle, that more people are going to be wishy-washy and there's more of a chance for people that have joined that are going to leave the class. So, it's not always a reliable time frame for trying to get people to commit to things, depending on what the nature of it is. It's hard. Commitments get a little bit more difficult. So basically the things to remember for Mercury retrograde is the flexibility, be extra careful, check your plans, your travel plans and other things and documents and agreements extra carefully. And then anything that has the prefix re, pretty much, there's going to be exceptions to this, but rejuvenation, redoing, re-editing, rethinking, reconsidering, even rest. It's a good time to rest. Anything like that where you're like going back over something is better indicated than something brand new, if possible, unless the new thing is short term or a bridge or something you consider doing, like, oh, I've always wanted to try that. Maybe I'll take that class, and the class is, 6 months or whatever, that can be fine. What we really need to have caution with is the bigger things and the things that are higher stakes, etc. Mercury retrograde can be an amazing time. You can get lots of this stuff done, inspiration from the past, tying up loose ends from the past, and preparing for a nice fertile ground for future wonderful things. I'm calling the theme of July 2019 for all signs, 3 times the manifestation power, bold new directions, and time to be brave. It's always interesting when we have a transit like Mercury retrograde that brings this eye to the past, coinciding with so much potential for new energy. So we've got 2 intense eclipses this month, plus 2 new moons this month. Whenever we have a month with 2 new moons, it opens up more potentials for brilliant new paths, and the same thing with the eclipses. But this is happening all under the cover of this Mercury retrograde. So that means that themes from the past, things worked on in the past, contacts from the past, plans from the past, are all going to factor in very heavily to the new opportunities that come. So we talked at length about Mercury retrograde and where that hit in your chart or will hit in your chart, and also what the implications are there. So we're going to go into some additional things to know about this month. The eclipses obviously are bringing massive changes. The transits this month are pretty equal as far as sweet or challenging, and a lot of them could just really go either way. So when we have a situation where there's a transit that's occurring and someone can either manifest something positive or something challenging from it, it really makes it more important for us to watch how we're looking at things. The perspective that we have on life, the perspective that we have on everything, colors, changes, effects, how we experience things. So the more you can be well rested and positive can help you to frame the energies that come in. And the more present you can be emotionally is also going to flavor this month, because with the eclipses and with the Cancer energies and even with the retrograde energies, there's a massive amount of emotion this month. High emotional tides this month, for better and worse. So amazing culminations, things that you've been hoping for forever, can just come to you at this time. I always think about the eclipse time as the vision of the spider with the web. You've spent all this time until July weaving this beautiful web. And sometimes those webs can get really big. I think about the webs I've seen like in the rainforest in Costa Rica, taller than a person, these gigantic webs. And of course the spiders that go along with them are pretty big too. But in any case, this web that you've created, now the eclipse time and the retrograde time are both times to just sit back and see what food comes to you. It's not the best time for initiating something huge, although sometimes chance or other things force it to happen that way. But the more you can be flexible, be relaxed, be well rested, not be super intent on pushing an agenda, being flexible, the more you can observe what is coming to you so that you can strike or take in according to what feels the best with the options that come to you. It's a fine time for research, but it's not the best time necessarily to try to push something to happen. It's more of an acceptance of what's coming in and what you're going to do with it. A lot of the eclipse news and changes may have already taken place before the actual eclipses, which occur this month. So you may already be steeped in, rolling around in, coping with, for better and worse, the eclipse changes. So the Cancer energy is bringing in a lot of emotion, a lot of tilt towards the energy of home, family, housing, home projects, things involving childhood psychology, upbringing, having to take some steps backwards in order to be able to take future steps forward. But there's also a coinciding energy of Leo. And Leo is going to give us the audacity to do something with the opportunities that come to us. Also a zest and a passion and creative expression. So in general, new moons and full moons have power for positive changes and things coming to a head, things coming out into the open, things coming to manifestation. When we have eclipses on an eclipse on a new moon or a full moon, it gives us 3 times the manifestation power. So 3 times the new beginnings, 3 times the drama or culmination, or things coming to a head. So it's just definitely a powerful month, very, very, very intense. Intensity is another keynote of this time. As we talked about in the June horoscopes, and definitely if you haven't watched my June horoscopes, you want to do that because I cover the eclipses in detail. There's so much to talk about for this time period. I couldn't fit it all in 1 month. So in June, I go into detail and tell you exactly where the eclipses will hit for you and what manifestations you can see. So definitely rewatch that here in July, even if you watch them in June, so that you can be better poised for understanding the changes that are coming. But in general, the eclipse cycle of Cancer and Capricorn bring in lots of changes to home and family and work and your place out in the world, things with mother and father, and your maternal and paternal energies. Look back to 2009 to 2011 and 2000 to 2001. Those are the times when we experienced this Capricorn Cancer eclipse cycles in the past. So you might see patterns. And I have gotten this question, if those have been your worst times, don't worry, that's not necessarily going to happen again. It's the themes that are brought up that are common to have a continuum. So the areas of life that were a focus, those will likely be a focus at this time. And it doesn't have to manifest the same way that it did. Okay, so I'm just going to hit a couple of highlights here as certain dates to note that are my favorite or my most you have to watch out for. If you want a complete list of the aspects that are occurring and what's involved with those aspects, what planets and signs are at play, and what you can expect from those, definitely sign up for my free email newsletter at anniehelpsyou.com. You'll also get my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine for free when you sign up for my free email newsletter. Plus, you'll get a written, detailed email newsletter a month before, just like I do the horoscopes a month before, of the dates and the aspects and what to look out for, so you have them for your planning purpose and you get those a month early. So you can see that at anniehelpsyou.com. But we'll hit some highlights here. The new moons are going to be, first the new moon and the solar eclipse, 10 degrees of Cancer, is on July 2nd. So that is a time of major intensity. I do have blogs on my website for how to make the most of each new moon and each full moon in the different signs. So definitely check those out. Mercury is going to go retrograde at 4 degrees of Leo and back to 23 degrees of Cancer. We talked about this at length, but that's occurring on July 7th, and that pretty much goes until July 31st or August 1st, depending on your time zone. The whole month is covered in Mercury retrograde. We've got some challenges to look out for as far as squares and oppositions throughout the month, and you can see the details of that in my newsletter. But one of the things that I most want you to be aware of is the full moon eclipse on July 16th. That is a lunar eclipse, 24 degrees of Capricorn, lots of intensity around that time, things coming to culmination. Be extra careful and also look out for extra rewards and things that you've worked on from the past that can come in a big way. I always try to keep that period of time a little bit light if possible. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but just be extra careful around that time. What they say about the full moons with, crazy things happening is really true. Whenever you watch these mystical shows or like Merlin or whatever, it's always a full moon when these, crazy things go on. So just take note of that and be prepared to deal with whatever comes. The second full moon, or rather the second new moon, is at 8 degrees of Leo, and that's on July 31st, or thereabouts, depending on your time zone. So the second new moon in the calendar month is a black moon, and there's extra power at this time for wishes and new beginnings. So plenty of opportunities for new beginnings. This month is just chock full of them. Throughout the month, we have some challenges with Uranus, we have challenges with Pluto, we have challenges, Pluto, Uranus, kind of a theme there, Saturn. So some of the outer planets are in challenging configurations, and this can bring tests, but it doesn't have to be a be-all, end-all. often it can bring overstimulation, and that could be a major theme of this month. We could get through this month and have complete positive outcomes and no negativity at all. Certain people will have that experience. Other people will have massive drama and lots of challenges, but there's no one way it has to go. You know, it's wide open here. But understanding the element of the opposition is important because oppositions are pulling us in two different directions. So be prepared to be pulled in two different directions, and also be prepared to be overstimulated. This is going to be an incredibly busy month physically, like moving around, doing stuff. Emotionally, it will be busy. You will be handling things. You might be holding space for other people who are dealing with changes. During eclipse cycles, we'll often see people around us going through massive change, and sometimes we are too. So it's hard to tell at this point if you're going to be a space holder for other people as they go through these big changes, or if you're going to be one of the people going through the big changes, or both. Sometimes in eclipse time, we're going through these big changes and we're also holding space for other people doing that. So be prepared to be overstimulated emotionally and mentally. That's why this theme of just trying to be well rested is really important, because we know that you can't really handle things as well when you're tired. So the more you can be not tired and take your supplements and, you know, do whatever you need to for support, do your walks, do your exercise, you're going to much better be able to use the energies that are present at this time. And there are a lot of sweet aspects in between these challenging ones. So there are some nuisances, but there are lots of sweet things too. Okay, so definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. I have an extensive astrology blog plus other blogs that you can check out there on different topics. If you resonate with how I teach, you would love to learn, my astrology apprenticeship program is open for enrollment, and I will teach you everything you need to know to do astrology professionally. Or if you just want it for your self-development process, it's amazing for that as well. You can check out all the other kinds of goodies I have on my site, including subliminal recordings that I create for you to help and train your brain to the positive changes that you're trying to make. And you can also see my other professional development courses there. Definitely check out my book, Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days. As I mentioned before, it has become a purse friend. It has become a car friend, a bedtime companion. It's just an amazing book for the spiritual seeker to really help you to use the power of word and prayer and intention to manifest the positive changes you want to see in your life. Check out my husband's website, IamHelios.com. He has amazing options now for you to use audio, subliminal, power-packed, frequency-enhanced recordings to mitigate the negative energies of transits and to enhance the positive energies of astrological transits. So we've worked together in the way of trying to figure out what resources would be best for you based on the things I see in the charts. So you can see the options for audios that can help you to maximize the transit. So you can check that out at IamHelios.com. Also, you can book a live reading at my site, AnnieHelpsYou.com, either with me or my amazing apprentice, Marilee. And you can also book sessions with my husband, B.R. Newman, at IamHelios.com. Okay, so those are the things I most have in mind for you this month. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.